as we will discover later on in the game, this guy being called the Last Giant is a load of bullcrap. He is not the Last Giant in this game. There are others. This guy has either a rapier or an estoc, I think a rapier, and is thus kind of difficult. Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about multiplayer. This is what we got from Pate earlier. It is called the White Sign Soapstone. We also got the small White Sign Soapstone. And what this will allow us to do is to write down on the ground, if we use this, our summon sign if we're playing online, and so we can actually be summoned into the world of other players and engage in multiplayer. This is a fantastic thing. I love doing this. And it really just helps you out, because if you're unsure about a boss and want to see what he's like, you can just put your soapstone sign down and hope somebody summons you, and then you can go in there and fight him first, and just see what he's like. And maybe the other guy will carry it, and he'll show you what to do and what you have to do. It's kind of a jerky thing to do, I admit, because you're supposed to go in there to help him, but still, it can be good to get some early info on a boss you're not sure about. You can wander around most of the level with this with the summon sign still active, which is a big change from Dark Souls 1, where, ooh, I'm actually being summoned, so we're going to show this to you. When we go to the other world, we are a phantom, which means that we have turned into sort of a glowing creature, like when we had the white ring on, and we're going to be helping this guy try to fight the boss. The Last Giant is an interesting boss. I'm going to talk more about the giant when we actually go in there. Usually you would exchange pleasantries when you go in there. You would, wave to one another, maybe make some gestures. But in Dark Souls 2, people are a lot less polite. In Dark Souls 1, the gestures were a lot, people were a lot nicer in Dark Souls 1, which is saying something, because they were pretty nasty there too at times. I think it's just common courtesy to wait for the guy to fully summon and then wave, but never mind. Whoa. Now we're actually in that guy's world, in that guy's game, as we're doing this. That backwards jump, probably learned that from the Tower Knight. Of course, it doesn't damage you like the Tower Knight does. Oop. Now, if we win this fight, then the game will very generously restore all of our Estus Flask uses. Any any renewable item will be restored when we're done, so we don't have to worry about using those Estus Flasks. Unfortunately, if we die during this, then we will not get them back. So, yeah. I would say to try to go all out. Yay! You guys, the knight starting armor. Oh, he's kind of like old and raggedy like myself. I think you can get 2 gestures off before you go back. And now we're going back to our own game. And we're going to fight the Last Giant on our own. Doing that can be a great way to earn souls. You can get tons and tons and tons of souls doing that if you do it several times. I mean, look at that. I have 7,000 souls now. That wasn't all from the giant, but that's quite a bit. And doing that, I see we have 4 Estus Flasks. All our Estus is back. All of our durability is completely back, which is fantastic. I love that. And the co-op in this game is great. It's better than it was in the other games because you can actually get summoned. In the other games, it was difficult even to get summoned. Now what we have here is our old friend Pate from before. And he is actually going to an NPC summon. Sometimes it's not just the other players that you can summon. You can bring in NPCs. The only way that you can see these summon signs, by the way, is if you are human. if you are hollowed even a little bit, you cannot see them and you cannot summon someone there. Let's bring Pate in and go fight the last giant, and hope we did as good as the last guy that was here. Now, I do have to mention, though, that before you summon anyone in, you are technically making the boss tougher, because he will have more health than he would otherwise. Let's see if we can look at this opening cinematic. Now, this last giant is reminiscent of the dragons in Boletarian Palace and Demon Souls, because it looks like he's just stuck with innumerable swords and missiles. You know, the people of Drangleic really, really went to incredible lengths to defeat this guy, even somehow managing to impale him on this pillar, maybe by throwing him down here. You'll notice that the giants do not have faces, or have an anus or vagina face, depending on how you want to say it. Why exactly the giants invaded Drangleic, we will learn later on. Now, I have to mention during this boss fight that his hitboxes are ridiculous. They are incredibly unfair, and you just have to be really, really careful. I think he's actually better now, believe it or not, than he was in the original game. His hitboxes were ridiculous. They extended far beyond his feet and arms. He's not that difficult, though. Even with Pate and the extra HP, he doesn't have a whole lot. And I do have a +3 upgraded weapon, I think. He has just ripped off his own arm. That's pretty beastly. That's pretty cool. Kind of failed that roll there. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I like how the arm moves a little bit. It still has some softness to it. And of course, Pate is a filthy spear user, attacking from behind a tower shield. And I think Pate occasionally will just throw dung pies at this guy. We haven't gotten dung pies yet, so I haven't talked about them. But they sound as alluring as they are as alluring as they sound. And he's dead. And we got his soul after killing him, and like with the Pursuer, we can now go to a special blacksmith, not the one in Majula, but a special blacksmith, and trade his soul for a special weapon. The one that you get from the last giant is actually a pretty cool stone axe. And you know me, I love me some barbarian stuff. And the stone axe is definitely really, really cool. It is, it's sort of a very beastly, primitive axe made of stone that just looks incredible, and actually gets very decent strength scaling, as you might imagine for a barbaric weapon. We also got a key from defeating the last giant, and we can now go through this door, which was previously locked. I think there are two guys in here, a spear user and a howitzer, maybe? But we don't really need to fight them. Where's the halberd user? Did he fall down? Maybe. And this is the place where we would fight the Pursuer if we had not trashed him earlier. Again, this area looks beautiful. You might want to just come here and look around. It looks amazing. Oh, there is a halberd guy. I knew it. But because the boss is dead, there's no fog, and we can just walk in here. This is a really interesting little fight here, because you'll see there are ballistas here. This must have been a last stand that the army of Drangleic had before they decided to, before they were defeated by the before they were defeated by the giants. Or I got the impression they weren't necessarily defeated, but they fought each other into annihilation. They destroyed each other. And you can actually come into this boss room and fire these ballista bolts, but you have to have a friend there with you to distract the Pursuer. And this will rake away something like 75% of his health with one of these bolts. So that's really cool. This actually looks like old Roman ballistas. I think that looks really cool. Yeah, this looks more Roman than it does medieval. But anyway, let's take a look over here. We're going to drop down here because there is an excellent set of armor and weapons that I want to show you. The Drangleic set. These are amazing. The set looks incredible. I'm going to show it to you here. You look great. I mean, just look at you. You look amazing. Look how sexy you look. I love that little male skirt. Not M-A-L-E, M-A-I-L. I think that's what's that supposed to be. And a cool breastplate and a cape. If there was one great tragedy about the Souls games, is that you cannot get a cape in all of them. I love that. This looks really, really cool. Now we're also going to pop up there really quick, just so I can show you something and we can activate a bonfire for a new area. But then we're going to come back and finish exploring the Forest of Fallen Giants. Excuse me. God, I just love this area. I love the sun. Love the way it looks. Love the ocean. The sword there. Love this giant's head from a statue that was knocked off. I think that was the one over there that was knocked off. This was a site of a big battle that we see at the end of the game between the giants and the forces of Drangleic. There's another one of these little guys here. That's kind of interesting. But only at the end of the game. It's neat that they kind of tease you with that. Now, let us go here. What did that say? Examine this little bird's nest? This is not Snuggly, though. This is something else. And this is something, again, that was done better in Dark Souls 1, because after you leave the tutorial area by being carried away by a gigantic bird and thrown into a nest, thrown into the ground, you can go up to where that giant bird is sitting, to her nest, and sit down in it for a while. And if you wait 30 seconds, she will grab you and take you back to the tutorial area, which now has new items and weapons in it. Maybe not weapons, but new items. The Lost Bastille. We're just going to activate this bonfire so we can come back to it later. Then, I am going to go finish the Forest of Fallen Giants, because we have another key that we can use. We have the same key that we can use on another door, excuse me. 2 other doors, actually, now that I think about it. This next area also featured in I'm losing my mind here. Or maybe just my train of thought. And now we will see that Melentia is gone. She has moved to Majula, and we can get her stuff there. This next area was featured in the demo that people were watching originally about a year before the game was released, and it looked incredible. Needless to say, it did not quite look like this, though. And a life gem. This next area has a thing called a Ring of Regeneration, I believe. I almost got knocked off the edge there. That would have been funny. Let's go straight down here. Ooh, we get some life gems with this, too. And this next area in the demo area looked amazing, and it looked totally different. It was a completely different game compared to the one that we eventually got. This Ring of Restoration is like a regeneration ring. It's going to restore our health very slowly, and can be a little useful this early in the game, because we don't have anything else more useful. This area is another end game zone. We can't actually get into this door until we have this ring, which we get at, I believe... Would you say it's the 75? I guess the 75% mark of the game, I guess. I'm not quite sure exactly what you'd say there. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Not much use going down there just yet. Now, this next area was famously going to be an area where you would have to bring a torch down to use. And you'd have to be fighting these huge, tough enemies in the dark, and you have to have a torch in one hand, and maybe it's going to run out. And it was supposed to be this whole different gameplay experience that looked a little bit more like survival horror. Sneaky, sneaky. Don't be sneaky. And this is what it turned out to be. Not what we were looking for. I like these old ironclads. You can actually get their armor and look like a giant turtle knight, and that's kind of fun. Oh, black firebombs. They're a stronger version of the regular firebomb. Huh. What are you doing there, pal? Who are you attacking? That was odd. He seemed to be attacking nothing. You little prick. Don't you do that. Alright. And we have another one of those knights. Yeah, the way this area looked in the trailer was or the demo was incredible. It was totally different from what we have here. Here it's just a hallway, which is fairly well lit. That's basically it. I mean, come on now. I'm going to take my gloves off and replace them with this bow, because archery is useful in the next area. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I'm going to mention it multiple times in this playthrough. In this game, in Dark Souls 2, and in all the Souls games, they expect you, the designers, to use multiple different play styles. So they expect you to use a mixture of melee, spells, and archery in the game. And if you decide not to use archery for some reason or another, you have to know that you're deliberately making the game more difficult for yourself if you do that. That guy is an archer? I think he probably has the same bow as we do. There's also an old ironclad directly behind him. Can you see that guy there? Let's see if I can aggro him. Yes, I can. Oh, we got another one coming. Okay, alright. Come on, boy. Let's do this. Bring everybody. It's a party. I think you can actually get that weapon later in the game, but it's not terribly good, so I don't really bother with it. You'd want to come to this area for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is that there is a bastard sword here, which is a pretty darn good early game weapon. Usually those guys would be a lot tougher if I didn't have a stick, which is apparently one of the best weapons in the game. I mean, it is a stick after all. Sneaky, sneaky, what are you doing here? You waiting me for come through that door? Is that what you're doing? That's not nice, Mr. Sneaky Pants. Even if you do not plan on ever really using a bow at all, because you feel it's sort of cheap, and you can use it to cheese enemies in all of the games, especially in Demon's Souls. You really could cheese enemies in Demon's Souls. You still should get it, because you can use it to lure enemies out. Even if you don't have the stats to use it, and the bow literally does 1 damage when you hit something with it, you can lure an enemy out that's in a group, and fight them like that. Is it an amber herb, maybe? Yes, it is, and a green blossom. That item over there, I checked it out, that's just a Titanite shard. It's not worth going down there to get it. You'd be risking death in order to get 1 shard that you can easily farm for, a few hundred souls. And up here, I believe we have the Hunter's set, which is the starting set for one of the classes, I think. It certainly was in Dark Souls. It's sort of very basic-looking leather armor. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, this looks a little too soft for me, my strength character. I'm going to be using this. And let's take a look at that bastard sword we got. I'm going to be using that in the next episode, after I beef it up a little bit. This is a fantastic weapon. It's really good, got a good moveset. It's got decent range, and unlike some of the other great swords, it really has a better stat requirements. Now the thing is, it does not have much in the way of scaling, unfortunately. So that makes the club probably superior at this time, but I'm still going to use it anyway to give a mixture of weapons. And here we have, for some reason, a bonfire. God knows why. You don't need a bonfire here. That's ridiculous. Let's see if we have one. We do not. I will probably come back here to try to get this item, but what this item is essentially is a seed of the Tree of Giants. And in order to talk about that, I have to talk about multiplayer. Now, I mentioned cooperative multiplayer before, where you can leave your soul sign. You can leave it anywhere in the level, pretty much. Although most of the time you're going to see it left near the boss door. There's going to be a ton outside there to help you. However, there is also something else, which is competitive multiplayer. And ooh, I actually have the turtle hat. That looks kind of neat. I'm going to take a look at that. Really? 4 fucking hits? This is why people are not fond of this game. 4 hits? Especially because this gigantic guy and this weapon. Alright. Anyway, let me take a look at what that turtle hat looks like. I'm less enamored with them now after he beat me to death. Doesn't look quite the same on you. Without the armor, it looks sort of creepy. Looks like they almost cut the eye holes out like they weren't originally there. It's kind of strange. Here's the hunter's hat, by the way. An elegant sort of hat. It actually looks good with this guy with his mustache. However, there is another type of multiplayer in this game which is competitive multiplayer, and it's called invading. This is where you forcibly attack another person's world and attempt to kill them in exchange for souls. You kill them and they take their souls. This, however, is pretty darn broken because there's not really any reason to do that in this game. I mean, I don't really think there's a point to invading someone in this game, to be honest, because you don't really get very many souls for it, frankly. And compared to cooperative multiplayer, it's virtually nothing. I mean, it's junk. I mean, why would you risk being killed and risk being a jerk to another player? I didn't notice that sword there. When you can, just have fun and enjoy things together with them. There's more of a soul incentive to use cooperative multiplayer. Kind of hanging around hoping I might get invaded. And another reason that it's broken is that it's very difficult, honestly, to be invaded, because what they did was place several covenants that are dedicated to invading people in one particular area. And they also made it a lot easier to invade them in those areas and a lot more fun. So it sort of pushed all of the invasions, which were supposed to happen all over the map at any given time, just onto this one couple of areas, which is kind of annoying and unpleasant. I mean, why would they do that? Why would they... If I fall here, I might die, but that's just a divine blessing down there, I think. I don't think it's all that useful. Yes, it is. I got lucky living through that, I tell you. And so there's not really much of a purpose to invading another player. I mean, I don't know why you would want to do it unless you want to have fun. I don't really like invading. I don't really like to do it. It isn't that enjoyable to me. So, I mean, I'm not going to invade now. Maybe I will in another area if I feel like it. By the way, you'll notice here that when we defeated that boss with a guy, we got a token of fidelity, which is an item that you can use in order to restore the HP of the person you're multiplaying with. I don't think it restores your HP, but it'll restore the host's HP, which is pretty nice. However, you can also use this to join a covenant in the second area of the game, the Tower of Hyde. So when we pop back to Majula, and we're pretty much done now. We've beaten both bosses, we've gotten most of the items, we've gotten Kale out of there, we've gotten Pate's storyline going, we've gotten the cooperative multiplayer items from Pate. I think that mostly we're pretty much done. Also, I forgot to mention this, I'm sorry. There is also something called the Small White Sign Soapstone. And the Small White Sign Soapstone does the same thing as the big one, however you stay in that world less time. And you will be rewarded with one of those items that you can trade to the crows. So, I tend not to do it because they're literally smaller signs and are less visible, so you can't really get a good look at them. And, yeah, I just prefer using the other ones. Using the bigger one. Where is my bastard sword? I think I'm pretty much going to call it an episode right now. I'm going to be getting my bastard sword up to +3. And then I'm going to be heading over into the next area in the next level called the Tower of Hyde. So I will see you guys then. Until next time, goodbye.